Good morning, everyone. We're just about to kickstart our live session, live Q&A on how to become a marine biologist, or just some tips and thoughts, perhaps from my own experience, but also just responding with some practical advice and some questions that I have got from some of you out there. If you aren't used to interacting here at Oceanswell ORG, I know a lot of people follow me on Asha de Vos, but I'd ask that you get used to this space because we are going to bring you a bunch of really exciting stuff, catering both to younger, our kids audience, but also to the general audience. We're going to have some amazing people coming into this space in the coming weeks, people that you might have heard of in sort of National Geographic magazine, or seen their posts and been amazed by the kind of work that they do in the marine space. And I'm going to bring them here into this room in the forthcoming weeks. So that's just a little bit of a teaser. I'm hoping you'll get used to coming into Oceanswell ORG, checking in, looking at our posts, and joining in some of our events that we're designing especially for you at this time and into the future. Okay, so now it's 8:20 a.m. So I'm going to kickstart this session on how to be a marine biologist. I'm going to build it structurally. I will pick up on your questions after I've sort of done the introduction. So just please bear with me. So I'm going to start off by saying, how many of you know what a marine biologist does? Does anyone want to just pop a couple of thoughts on what marine biologists do? You can just send them in as comments. I'd love to hear what people think, where people are starting from, just so I have a good sense. Morning, everyone. This is a session on becoming a marine biologist, an opportunity for people to ask questions from a marine biologist herself, or as some people, as kids like to call me, a real life octonaut. So my first question is to just sort of get the room going. How many of you know what a marine biologist does? Does anyone want to pop in a comment about what they think a marine biologist does, what kind of jobs we do, what kind of work we do? I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer that. Be good to get a couple of answers. I learned from you, a person studying about oceans, something not. Yep, that's one thing. Serves the oceans. Yeah, oceanic research. Study objectively the coolest part of the planet. Correct. Totally objective, Molly. It is the coolest part of our planet. It is also 70% of our planet and represents 98% of habitable space. And by that I mean that if you think about the planet and you think about land, there's large parts of it that we can't actually use, right? We can't live in, like the deserts, for example. But if you look at the ocean, 98% of that space can actually provide spaces as habitats for animals and things to live. And so it's an incredibly important space. So yes, we do study ocean and we do ocean research. That's absolutely spot on. But we do a range of research, and that's sort of what I want to remind you today. I've got some notes just to make sure I'm responding to some of the questions we got, but if you think about it, we investigate all kinds of issues related to the oceans, problems related to the oceans, but the amazing thing is that we have the power to also help solve those problems. Okay, so some of the things like overfishing in our oceans, or ocean acidification, or tourism and the interaction with the animals out in the ocean, or how they impact the oceans and our, say, coral reefs or our species. You think about the impacts of pollution on the ocean. All of that is what we work with and what we work on as marine biologists. But we do, and while it sounds kind of sad and depressing, what we do have the opportunity to do is to actually be part of the team that starts to resolve those problems, that looks after the ocean. At this point, I do want to pause and remind you all that the ocean is a common resource. So the ocean actually belongs to everyone. It's a free-for-all for everyone. We all have the right to go there and pick up a fish if we wanted to. But the burden of sort of looking after the oceans has fallen onto the shoulders of a few of us. And actually, I want to remind you all that you have a responsibility to look after the oceans, whether you have the title of marine biologist, marine conservationist, or not. Okay, so that's sort of the kind of jobs we do. And I'm going to, so there's a wide range of jobs that you can be part of. Everything from working in government to doing research to teaching to working in as a consultant or even working in the private sector. Okay, so there's a vast amount of jobs. I myself personally have chosen to build my own nonprofit because I'm really interested in research. I'm interested to take research and convert it into action, and I'm also interested in education and getting more people excited about the oceans. And so I built Oceanswell to be able to do exactly that. Okay, what I also should point out at this point is that marine biology, while I know it seems glamorous when you see the documentaries, when you see the videos, it looks like this really glamorous job where people are standing on boats with wind sweeping their hair, and there's whales and dolphins jumping all over, and everything seems so seamless, and you go down and you dive and you're seeing these amazing spaces with colorful fish and all this life. And what I want to point out to you is that it's not a glamorous job. Okay, so prepare yourself with that mind, that's the first thing you have to keep in mind if you want to go into this career, is that marine biology is not by any means a glamorous job. It's an amazing job, but it's not glamorous. It's not about being able to lounge around on beaches at all. We do a lot of hard work, and it's extremely tiring. It involves long days. It involves a lot of physical exertion. And so that's the reality of the job. So when you see pictures of marine biologists sort of lounging around in their swimwear, that's not the reality. There's like no time spent doing that because we're so busy trying to like be one step ahead, and we're always one step behind in terms of trying to resolve the problems of the ocean. Okay, some other thoughts. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. So again, just to say, we study a lot, we do it for a long time, and we keep doing it for a long time. It's totally worth it. We do a lot of data collection and analysis, so a lot of the work is actually spent in spaces like this, in front of our desks, in front of our computers. If you look at it in terms of percentage of time, I personally probably spend a maximum of 2.5 months actually in the ocean or on the ocean. And we actually, good morning to those joining. I'm doing the Ask Me Anything on how to become a marine biologist session. I'm going through the intro right now. If you missed anything, please watch the video. I'll be posting it. I'm just going to keep rolling with this. So I spend about 2.5 months maximum on the ocean, in the ocean. The rest of the year, which is, we have a 12-month year, I spend at my desk. Okay, I do a lot of public speaking, I do a lot of education and outreach, but otherwise I'm also at my desk, basically answering questions, writing papers, trying to get money to do the next piece of research, analyzing data. So we are data and obsessed species, and we need the data to be able to answer the questions and to resolve problems. Okay, so I'm going to take your questions in a second. I'm going to first go through the questions of the people who submitted questions in the 24-hour period that we'd opened up questions, so please bear with me. We are driven by passion. Marine biologists, if you want to be a marine biologist, that's awesome. Just remember, you have to be driven by passion. You can't be driven by the desire to have a fancy car or the desire to like live in a mansion, because that's not going to be the case. Okay, so our rewards are very, very different. I think I have the best life in the world. I have a very rich life. I get to travel to places across the world, see amazing places that most people will never get to see. I get to immerse myself and meet people who are incredibly passionate about taking care of the oceans, and that's what's most important to me. So I want you to remember that passion is the number one thing. A burning passion is the number one key thing for a marine biologist or a conservationist of any sort. Sometimes we can spend months on end without putting our feet in the water, and I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive. If our job is ocean related, why are we not spending all our time in the ocean? The reality is that doesn't happen. There are months that will go, and I'm Sri Lankan, I live in Sri Lanka, so I have the privilege of seeing the ocean all the time, but that doesn't mean I go and I get to swim or go on the water all the time, because it is expensive to do that stuff, and we try to design our projects so we're doing our research in a very short period of time, collecting as much data as possible. So for the rest of the year, we're working on that data. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Just now we're about to launch into the second portion of our session on being a marine biologist, how to be a marine biologist. And that second portion involves some of the questions that some of you sent in to me, to us at Oceanswell ORG over the last 24 hours. So thank you very much for paying attention to the post, for reading the post properly and sending those questions in. It's an easier way for us to try to get the our questions to get together, and for us to focus on being able to contribute and sort of give back to all of you. Okay. So I ask you to please pay attention to kind of what the posts are about and how to get in touch with us in those situations. Okay, so one of the big questions I got was, what subjects do you need to do to be a marine biologist? That's a great question. Okay, so you might be in the latter parts of school, high school, or you might be young and you might be trying to figure out, okay, maybe this is a dream job, this is where I want to go. What kind of subjects do you want to think about, focus on, and think about studying? Okay, so to become a marine biologist, you do have to have math skills, and I'm not saying you have to be 100% awesome at all of these things, but you have to have a basic knowledge in all of these subjects. Maths is very, very useful because we do a lot of statistics. We also having physics knowledge is really, really important. Basically, chemistry and biology, those are really important. Biology seems like the obvious one, but certainly those are the subjects you'd want to focus on as you're going through in your career. So all kinds of different maths get used in the long term. We're using statistical maths, but you know, statistics is a fundamental part of the research that we do. Exactly. So we use chemistry, you know, calculus, physics, biology, guys, biology, and very environmentally focused biology. So what I would call green biology. So those are the main subjects that you want to focus on. I then had another question about what are the best, and these are not going to be in any particular order. It's more in the order that they came through. So what are the best universities for marine biology? My honest advice to you is that the best universities, there's a lot of universities that do amazing stuff, amazing marine biology degrees. Two things. One is pick a university that is strong in an area of marine biology that you are interested in. Okay, so I was very interested in studying marine mammals. I figured that that was going to be my long-term career path. That's what I guessed, and so I chose a university, which is the University of St. Andrews, which is probably one of the top 5 institutions in the world that focus on marine mammals as their sort of big topic of study. Okay, so it really depends on which area you're interested in. That's one of the things you need to figure out. To figure that out, you need to do a lot of reading, a lot of research, you know, thinking around it, because marine biology, I think sometimes we forget how vast a field it is. It's basically anything to do with the oceans, right? So it can be marine mammals, it can be coral reefs, it can actually be working with okay, so I'm going to take that question afterwards, Jenny. So I'm going to focus on some of the questions that we've already got in the 24 hours that we opened up for questions earlier. So if you are going down the university path, certainly I would say, yeah, you can study algae, you can study livelihoods. How are people's lives impacted by the ocean? So if you're a person who likes having conversations with people, that's another part. Social science is very much related to the kind of work we do. We also, I would say, you know, so it's such a vast and varied field. You can study fish, you can study fisheries, you can study industries that are involved in the oceans. Those are all marine biologists' jobs, right? So you need to sort of start to slowly pinpoint which areas are of most interest to you, because that's how you pick the university or the path or the volunteer internships that you want to go into. Okay, and so really you need to start doing some research on also the universities that might be suitable for you. Look around. And the second thing I want to say about universities is, if that's your career, that's the path you're going to go down, just know that the university can only give you so much. okay? Everything else is up to you. So by that I mean, you can, the university can be the best university in the world, but if you are not using that opportunity to the best, if you're not using the resources, if you're not tapping into the people, you're not going to shine. And it doesn't matter what degree you went to, what university you went to. You might have people who have gone to a much smaller rural university, perhaps a very local university in their own countries that isn't necessarily considered competitive with a world class university, but that doesn't mean that they can't shine, right? With the fundamental foundational knowledge, but also a drive and a curiosity and a passion, they can become stars in the world, okay? So at the end of the day, two things about what university to pick. One is depends on what your area of interest is, and the second thing is it's not the university that makes a marine biologist, it's you that makes that marine biologist. So remember that. So someone also asked about internships. Where can you find internships that are that can help to, you know, take you down this path? What I can say is internships, there are lots of ways of doing it. You can Google. The internet these days is an amazing resource for some of that stuff. So do look around, see what's out there. Apply for internships based on your skills. Look at the kinds of skills people are looking for in their interns, and then try to build those skills. And I will talk about skills in a second. But then what I would say is definitely so think about, look for internships. The other way to look for internships is also look for mailing lists. So for example, the marine mammal community has a MAM mailing list. If you Google it, you'll find it. And on that MAM mailing list, people will share everything from new research that's coming out, job opportunities, even volunteer internships. So all different areas, like corals have Coral List, which is a mailing list you can sign up to. They're free. And look out for the internship opportunities that might be in there. Can the kids do internships during schooling years? There are a lot of opportunities, particularly in other parts of the world. If you're, live close to an aquarium, and I would say a reputable aquarium that does lots of research is the kind of aquarium you want to be associated with. There are lots of opportunities there. There might be opportunities in terms of local community work, outreach work. People might be gathering to do some of that. So yes, there are opportunities. I'm going to take the questions that Jenny left about what happens if you can't afford to go to a university to study this. Well, then it's about self-study and skills building, right? At the end of the day, unfortunately, it is a slightly technical degree. And so there is a certain amount of foundational knowledge that's required for you to become a marine biologist. So if you can't necessarily afford to go to university, it's all about how much drive do you have within you to sit down, maybe take an online course, volunteer, and try to help out. You might have skills that you can bring to the program that other people don't have or that are lacking, and so you can always offer those. And that's the other thing about internships. It's about applying for internships that you have skills for, but also offering other skills. So if you sign up for an internship and say you're a really great videographer, right? Say, look, I would like to do this internship, and also in return I'm happy to make some videos for your project, right? I can tell you that's really attractive to a lot of people who are who run marine sort of projects out there, because we are maybe, especially people who are very keen about getting the word out, getting people excited about the ocean. So think about what skills you have to barter. I can tell you in my experience, when I did my first internship, they were basically saying I couldn't get on. I wrote to them for 3 months, and this was way back, many years ago. But I wrote every day for 3 months to convince them that I was the person they needed for the job. And of course, I wasn't like a spoiled brat. I wasn't like, take me on, I need to be on this project. But I was like, look, these are the skills I'll bring to you. I will do anything. Be prepared to do anything. That's my other piece of advice in this scenario. I started off, and I don't think, some of you know this, some of you don't. I started off as a deckhand on a research vessel. And a deckhand is a person who cleans bathrooms, polishes brass, maintains equipment. That's all I did. That is what my first job in this field was. I was polishing brass, cleaning toilets, cooking meals for people, guys. That is where you start. You have to start with humility, and remember that you know, those jobs, and the whole reason I took those jobs was because I was like, okay, if I have this job in marine on the board, even as a deckhand, it doesn't matter, I can prove myself by working really hard, getting my jobs done, and then saying, hey guys, I'm free, do you have any science that I can help with? And that's exactly what happened. After about, you know, 2 weeks of me scrubbing decks, polishing brass, like super bright, mind you, I would polish super hard, and I would clean the toilet super clean, but I'd get it all done, and then I'd be like, hey, can I help with science? And gradually they promoted me to deckhand and science intern. So basically, remember, you start from the bottom. That's where you want to start, because that teaches you humility first to start off with, but it also helps you to build a foundation to go in the direction that you need to go. You build up skills, you build up resilience, you build up adaptability. Those are the unwritten skills that I think are incredibly important to pursue these fields. Okay, related to that, someone asked me, what are the skills you need to become a marine biologist? So first and foremost, you have to have an interest in marine life. That seems really obvious, but I know a lot of people who want to be marine biologists who find it glamorous, and they get into it and they're just like, I don't want to hang around with fish all day. And so you need to think about the fact whether or not you actually do want to be involved in something that involves a lot of marine life and salt water, and that would be your first skill. The other thing is numerical and statistical skills. Like I said, most of our year is spent in front of desks. We're working through data, we're doing analysis, so we need mathematical skills, we need statistical skills. Look up online, there are lots of statistical online courses that you can take. R is a language that is used a lot in the sciences. It's a free package, and it's a language, a sort of a statistical package that all of you can learn and start to use in your daily lives for simple stuff as well, just to get used to the platform. So I would say learning statistical skills, improving your numerical skills is a really important thing as a marine biologist. Fieldwork skills, you know, not being afraid to get out there, get dirty, get salty, get crispy. I know that my team who's watching right now can tell you it's a very crispy job. You know, you are, by the end of the day, you're sweaty, you're salty, your skin is sunburnt, your skin is probably fairly irritated by the wind and the salt and the sun. We work in pretty harsh conditions, and you know, but fieldwork skills are all about that, thinking about, can I do it? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, everyone can, but you won't have to want to be in that position. And so fieldwork skills are important. That links back to the question previously about internships. How do you get involved? How do you do internships in this field? Other really important skills, patience. Wow, can I just tell you, working with the largest animal that has ever roamed the planet seems luxurious and glamorous to people, but we can spend hours, I tell you, on our boat, staring out at just the ocean. Burning hot sun, you're sweating, the sun is burning your eyes, but you're staring out, just looking for signs of life, okay? And so that is a lot of what we do on the ocean. So having patience, because if you were a person who, if you don't have a lot of patience, you'd be like, I'm done. Like, you know, like I've been staring at the ocean for an hour, like there's nothing out here. But it's not true. The ocean is 70% of our planet, and 98% of all habitable space is within the ocean. So in that, if you think about it that way, there's always something out there, just because you can't see it. And remember, we see only about 20% of the life of a whale. 80% of that life is underwater. And so you have to develop patience, and just know that things take time, and that's just how it is. So for me to answer a research question on these blue whales, I can't go out to sea for a month and collect data and publish a paper. That's not how it works. It's multiple years of data that can help me to actually write one scientific paper and make one contribution to science. The Sri Lankan Blue Whale Project, which I started back in 2008, it's 12 years now. We're only starting to just be able to answer some of the questions that we wanted to ask. That's over a decade of data. I mean, some questions we're still trying to build the data. So it's a long-term thing, and you have to have patience for any area of marine biology. You have to have an eye for detail and good observational skills. hone those skills, guys. I'm telling you, being able to see small differences in marking patterns of species, being able to spot errors in your data, those are the things that save you. Those are the things that can help to become a better marine biologist. So you need to pay attention. You need to start really learning to focus and concentrate, pick up on little things, because our data involves a lot of fine scale stuff. Looking down microscopes to look for tiny differences, to be able to identify different species. In our case, we look at the tail flukes of blue whales, sperm whales. We look for these tiny nicks and cuts and marking patterns that can tell us who's who and whether it's a different individual or a new individual. I mean, if you overlook that stuff, that's a whole lot of data that's getting wasted. So paying attention to detail is incredibly important as well. Other thing, excellent teamwork, guys. Here's a secret, okay? In life, we go through school, we sit exams, and all those exams we study on our own and we sit and do on our own. That is not realistic. In real life, every single thing we do involves teamwork. Every single thing we do. Think about it, right? Even a task that you do in your house, whether it's cooking a meal, someone's earned the money, someone's bought the vegetables, someone's maybe helped cut them, and someone's cooked them, and then there's a whole team always ready to eat, right? Everything in life is about teamwork, okay? So remember that. That's incredibly important. Similarly, in the work we do, being a team player is your fundamental skill. You need to be able to work with other people, because we work in cramped spaces. We work together, we live together 24/7, maybe on tiny boats, maybe in a field house for long periods of time, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months. And if you aren't a team player, if you don't know how to work with other people, it's not going to be easy. And honestly, there's no job in this field that you can do all on your own. And proof for that is if you look at some of the research that's being done, if you look at a scientific paper, publication, or some work that's being talked about in the more popular media, you'll see multiple names on it, because nobody's working on their own. I don't have all the skills to actually answer the question I want to answer. So while I have a lot of skills, I need to find people who can complement those skills, and therefore help me to answer that question in completion, in full, right? So become a team player, learn how to become a team player. For those of you who are young, a really great way to become a team player or learn to become a team player is to get involved in things like sports, team sports, or even like, other teams like chess teams or Scrabble team. Become part of a team. You can learn a lot from that, and you can hone skills that will be useful for you, not just as a marine biologist, but in any career you choose. Personal communication skills, guys and girls. Learn to communicate. If you aren't a good communicator, you will never be able to move forward, because you know what? Miscommunication leads to frustration, leads to angry people. Okay, so learn to communicate. Become a communicator, but also become a listener. Be patient. Learn to listen. Okay, so when we work in teams, sure, the project is mine, the organization is mine, but I have a bunch of interns. I spend a lot of time in discussion with them, but I also tend to try to open it up, and I say, hey, here's an idea I've had. What are your thoughts? Or we have this problem, right? Someone's done this and we need to rectify it. How do we solve this? Okay, so those are really important things to think about. Communication, leaving open space, but also, you know what? You make a mistake, talk about it, own up to it. We have to learn to say sorry a lot, because if you make a mistake and it's going to impact someone else, that's incredibly important to acknowledge. You have to learn to communicate, because you know what, again, because we're working in teams, if you're not communicating, then someone else can't complete that task. Okay, so work on your communication skills. Even if you don't like to talk a lot to people, that's okay. Your communication doesn't have to be about chatting about what you did in your day or what you had for breakfast. It can be very focused communication based on, hey, we have this data set, we need to do X, Y, and Z. Do you think we can break up the tasks? This is what I think I'll be good at doing. How about you? What do you think? Okay, you think you'd be good at that task. That's awesome. So I think then we can complete the task. Can we regroup tomorrow to see where we are on this, just to make sure we haven't missed out on anything, right? That's the kind of communication you have to develop. It doesn't have to be talking about personal things if that's not how you want to roll. And so related to that, also start to become a problem solver. So a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, I have this problem. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what's the solution? Right? Because I don't know all the solutions. Other people on your team don't know all the solutions. But if you have a problem, think about, hey, we have this problem. Here are some solutions that I think we can come up with and do. But I'd love to have some feedback. Can we sit together and see what other solutions can come around from the table, right? I think it's much more, and that's a secret thing that people aren't going to tell you, but I'm telling you, become solution oriented. Okay, so don't always wait for someone to give you the answers. Don't always wait for someone to tell you how to do something. Don't always wait for someone to give you instructions. In this field, you also need to learn to work independently. So as much as you're part of a team, you do have to complete certain tasks, like a writing assignment, right? I might give one of my interns a writing assignment. I might say, hey, I need this written. Can you send this to me? Communication is necessary because they need to ask me the right questions so that they are delivering what I want. So they might say, hey, okay, you want to report about this species. Are you interested in where they come from and whereabouts they live? Do you also want to maybe have some points about who else is studying this species? And I'll be like, hey, yeah, that's great. Thank you for asking, right? So that's where the communication comes in. But then they need to listen to what my instructions are. So being a good listener is really important. And then they need to go off and maybe work a little bit on their own to develop the document, but then come back to me with it. And then be open to constructive criticism. So you have to, nothing in life are you going to do perfectly. You are going to need to be courageous about constructive criticism that people pass on to you. So to become a marine biologist, to do anything really in life, you want to be open to that, and you want to be able to say, hey, okay, thank you for that. It's helping my work. Thank you for challenging me. It makes me step up. And that's what I want you to see yourselves. You got to have a love for the outdoors. Obviously, having a ability to swim is a plus. I would say learn to swim anyways. It's a safety thing. It's not just about like being able to float around or dive. Just learn to be a swimmer, because even if you're spending time on boats, there are risks involved. And just being able to swim means you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to keep your team safe. Okay. And have an interest in research. And by that I mean be curious. Ask questions, and be prepared to go do the research to answer those to do the research that can answer those questions. Okay, and then share with other people. So that's going to be the power of also becoming a marine biologist. Okay, I got one more thing. Okay, so skills to develop. Okay, just to round up. Also scientific writing skills. Learn to write. So practice writing. I hold a virtual writing hour every day at 9:30 a.m. here in Sri Lanka. It's a good time for you to sit down and commit to writing. Do the research beforehand, do all the reading, and then come down and sit and just dump those words on the page. Learn to edit them, make them more beautiful and perfect after that 1 hour period. Okay, seek opportunities like that to sit and write. Because writing is a very important skill, whether it's papers, whether it's reports, whether it's social media, whether it's writing a script for a video that you're trying to do. All of those skills require some skill of writing. Have a knowledge of policy and marine legislation. So in your countries, in the spaces you're going to work, there are marine laws. Learn to have a look around about them. Do some research about them. They're usually all available online. So certainly look at them and try to learn about them, because that will help you. Applied math skills, again, like I said, I keep going back to this, but being a statistician, honing those skills is really important. Presentation and public speaking skills. Not everyone's great at it, but you have to try. So learn to, whatever you learn, be brave enough to share it with some other person. Stand up and talk about it. Tell people about it. Just becoming a storyteller is a really important skill for the marine environment and marine biologists, and being an impactful marine biologist. That's the important thing. You can be a marine biologist, but if you want to be an impactful marine biologist, these are the skills you need. Leadership qualities. Learning to be a leader is really important. Not everybody is a leader at the top of the pile, but you will lead components of different things. Learn to be a leader, learn to be courageous, learn to be a communicator, because that's a number one leadership quality. Project management, we do a lot of project management. Things like, how do you manage money, like budgets? How do you manage people? How do you assign tasks? How do you encourage people to participate and engage? Those are all skills. And I would also say physical fitness. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you know what? A lot of our work, particularly if you're doing the more outdoorsy versions of marine biology, wow, it's physically strenuous. Being fit is incredibly important to the long-term well-being of yourself and also being able to work in this field. So those are some of the questions I got that I wanted to answer. If you guys have any questions, we still have 15 minutes left. So if you want to pop your question right here in the question box, I'm here to try to answer them. Make your questions really specific, because the more specific it is, the more the better I can answer it. If you just say, how do I become a marine biologist? I mean, I can tell you my life story, but that's not relevant here. Because everybody's story and everybody's journey to becoming a marine biologist is very different. I don't know your background, so it's not helpful. I also had a question actually from someone who already has a career, who wants to transition into a more impactful sort of space, like maybe conservation and stuff. And what I can say in that situation is, your background is never irrelevant. I think if you're a lawyer, a business person, a journalist, an artist, whatever your background is, you can still contribute to the marine sciences, because you can make the ocean a priority in your everyday job. You can encourage your companies to consider the ocean environment as a really important component of their work and a consideration. Please ask very specific questions, Nature Boy Arpit, but I'm happy to take some questions for the next 15 minutes. So transitioning careers would involve, again, you need the technical background. So you want to look into courses that are marine conservation related, that are online. There are courses available. Oceanswell is also developing an online course in marine conservation. It's a bit stalled right now because there's a few videos that we can't do in the current climate, but hopefully it will be available towards the end of the year. Okay, so you're not sure which degree you want to do. So it really depends on how specific you want to get, right? So one thing you have to remember is, if you commit to a marine science degree, perhaps a lot of your subjects will be very marine oriented, and that could be very narrow focused. But if you aren't 100% sure if the marine environment is the area you want to go into, but you are really interested in biodiversity and conservation, then you can always go broad-based, and then in your next stages, or maybe take volunteer internships that are more marine focused to test it out, to see if that's the ecosystem you want to continue working in. And then maybe if that is the case, then your next degree can be more marine focused. So hopefully that helps, but it's not a problem to be more broad-based, because you'll have the fundamental skills, the foundational skills, but also the transferable skills that you can use should you decide to transition into a marine kind of career. I'm done self-studying marine biology. You're 8. Yes, Alusha, I know you're doing a lot of stuff and you are building your knowledge. That's awesome. Keep doing it, keep sharing it with the world. That's really important, sharing storytelling. In this field, unfortunately, I don't think age should be a barrier, and I think you're doing it the right way because you're 8. You can't exactly go out on boats on your own. You can't exactly go out to fisheries, harbors on your own. You're still too young to do a lot of things on your own, but there are things you can do on your own in this field. And for you, it's making videos and sharing your knowledge about the oceans and the things you learn. And I think that's perfect, and I think you should continue doing it, because I think you still have a very valuable role to play. And with this knowledge, as you get a bit older, your opportunities will grow, and you will be in a really great position then to actually pursue a career when you get to an age when you can do things a little more independently and have more technical study and build those technical skills. But there are other skills that you can also teach yourself, since I think you're really bright. Maybe look at basic online statistics courses for kids to teach yourself, what we do with the numbers, what we do with the data when we collect them. All of that will be valuable. So start to branch out on the skills. Some of the skills I talked about today, think about how you can build those skills no matter what your age is. Okay, Alosha? I understand you like to volunteer. We get a lot of requests from volunteers. We do, whatever opportunities we have, we do post about it here on our social media, both on Instagram, Facebook, and on our website. And we do put in criteria because we need volunteers with certain kinds of skills in certain kinds of situations to be able to complete certain kinds of tasks. So look out for those opportunities, and if you do fit the bill, if you have those skills, do apply, and we'll consider you for the opportunity that we have. So for sure, we do accept volunteers. We have 3 volunteers working for us right now, actually. Hafsa, Swada, and Molly, who are all in the room. They worked with me out on the ocean for 3 weeks, and now they're continuing their volunteer internships remotely with me, helping us build some of these amazing things that are coming up soon. So volunteer opportunities do exist. Bringing skill to the program is important, and also matching your skill with our needs is incredibly important to make sure that we're all really achieving tasks. Remember, and a tip on that is, while an internship is a learning experience, it's not a teaching experience, right? So you will learn on the job based on what job is available, but it's not like being in a classroom where we're constantly teaching you the subject or how to do something, right? So there's a lot of self-learning, there's a lot of learning on the fly, but we also need people who come to us with skills that can contribute to the organization so that the organization can fulfill its mandate and its goals and visions and missions. Can you do sessions for kids? You're such a great teacher. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Navika. Yeah, we've got some fun stuff lined up, so we'll be rolling it out maybe starting sometime next week, so stay tuned. Tell your friends. We're hoping that we'll get an audience and we'll get some excitement around what we're preparing. That's not just me, it's my team as well, so we're trying to conceptualize stuff that will be fun for all of you and learning experience, and a space where I can do some teaching in my little space. Maybe I'll change the picture in the background depending on what I'm talking about, but I do love drawing sperm whales, in case you're wondering. Environmental science student who wants to be broaden out to marine biology as well. Any tips? So if you have an environmental science background, that's a really solid background. I'm assuming that you also have some of the other skills like stats, writing skills, communication skills. So at this point, what you'd want to look at is developing playing in the marine space. So look for some internships, volunteer internships that can provide you the opportunity to try out different areas of marine biology. Remember, marine biology is diverse, so it's not just about whales or dolphins or coral reefs or beautiful fish. It's a whole range of things. So what I would suggest to you is, it's very easy for you to transition from where you are. You have the solid foundation, but what I would say is that you think about trying to get some experience in very marine specific things that can help to build on what you already have. Okay. It is a whale in the background, yes. You applied for internship, you love animals, want to do something for animals. Ocean just treasure for... Yeah, the ocean is a treasure for anybody. You're absolutely right. It's a treasure not just for biology students, but it's a treasure for our whole planet, because 50 to 70% of the oxygen that you breathe is generated by plants in the ocean. So every single one of us has to look after the ocean. We will be running some online programs for kids at Oceanswell starting maybe from about next week. So please just watch our social media to find out a little bit more about what we have lined up. Okay. And we will also be launching another program which is more diverse, open to everybody. I mean, everything's open to everybody. If it's online, it's free. So just, bring your friends, bring your parents, sit down and have a listen. We've got about 10 more minutes for questions. You're welcome, Anuji. Anybody whose questions have been answered at this time, I'm really happy to be able to do that. We have about 10 more minutes if you have any more questions. Hub 9 is awesome. you're graduating zoology, please suggest some college for masters. Okay, so this is a question I answered right at the start. You do need to do your own research on like what colleges fit your needs, what particular area of marine biology that you want to go into, where in the world you can go to university, because some people might be able to go abroad, you might want to stay local, so you need to do some research on that. It's very hard. There's a lot of schools in the world that do a lot of marine biology degrees, and so I can't tell you I'm smart enough to know all of that. A-level subject for marine biology, yeah, so that was the first question I answered. So please do watch the whole video, guys. You might have missed out on something if you just rolled into the room, but I would say physics, chemistry, maths and biology are your subjects that you need to think about doing at A levels if you want to continue and become a marine biologist. Okay, we have 7 more minutes, guys. Any questions? Just want to know, where do you study in Sri Lanka? So the Ocean University, it's based in Tangol. They have some very fisheries slanted programs, so there is some sort of marine aspect there. Ruhun University also does some, which is in Matara, does some marine stuff. There's not a lot of marine courses available at the moment, and that's something that we're looking into. Oceanswell is stepping up to fill that gap a little bit by building an online marine conservation course that we will release later on in the year, because I know there's a need, but also right now we've stalled because we can't do some of our videos outdoors, obviously, which is fine. This is the need of the hour. Further steps after graduation, again, these are things that I have covered. So I talked earlier in the video, please go back and watch it, about doing volunteer internships, about what kind of skills you need to build if you want to continue in this career. So do watch the whole video to find out the answers to those questions, Nature Boy, Arpit. It'll help. What about schools? We don't have marine science at school level. That is something that our long-term plan. It's a little difficult to get involved in primary and secondary education as a non-profit. There are actually clauses for us in particular spaces. So let's see, there are things that we potentially can do, but for now, if for school kids we will, or young kids, we're hoping to launch out some stuff, online sort of education stuff from about next week. You're a commerce graduate, I want to do coral restoration, how can I do it? Yeah, so again, I did answer that similar question about like how do you transition from a career that you're in to a career that's related to this stuff. One key thing would be to try to get volunteer experience in coral restoration, because that's the only way to really switch over, but you need to also offer something in return to the projects that you want to work in. I'm sorry, I don't really know off the top of my head schools in India that can do marine biology, but again, I'm sure you can find that information out. If you Google, maybe write to a professor who is actually locally from your country, who will be able to help answer those questions. Coral conservation organizations in Sri Lanka, Blue Resources Trust, I think they're based in Pasikuda. They do some coral conservation work. I know the Orca Sri Lanka group too, Prasanna Virakuri, they do some coral conservation. So those are sort of the groups that I would look into if I was you. I don't know what Tango is. You know, Nature Boy, Arpit, I feel you. I'm not even joking, I have at least 3 people writing to us asking if they can work with us every day. We are overwhelmed by like people who want to work with us, and we totally wish we could cater to all of you and give everyone an opportunity, but unfortunately it is quite tricky because we do need particular skills. So like I say, you know, if you have skills and you can contribute, we make it very fair and very open and very transparent. We put it all on our social media. Any opportunities that we have are on social media, are on our website. It's equal and fair because anyone can apply. We have at the moment Molly, who is working with us. She's from the US, and we've got Swada and Hafsa, who are Sri Lankan. We've had students from India before, so it is just a matter of looking out for these opportunities and applying if you have the skills, making sure you build the skills that are needed to apply as well. So look around at what other internships are available across the world, just to look at what skills people are looking for, and then you're ready when people ask for opportunities. When people are looking for interns and volunteers, you will be able to apply. You'll be ready with your answers. You'll have built those skills that are necessary, and that's when you'll really get into these programs. So do your background work also. Don't wait for the last minute to be like, oh my gosh, I want to do this internship, I'm going to apply, but you don't have the skills, so it's very hard for people to take you on board. Sure, totally understand, Nature Boy Arpit. I have a lot of people out there who have the same drive. So thank you for your interest. Super excited. Anybody else who has any questions? I've literally got 4 minutes, and then I'm just going to wrap up this video. This video will be available on the live feed, but also we're going to post it on our IGTV and on Facebook, so you can watch it at any time to come back to learn some of the basics about, hey, you want to be a marine biologist? Here's some things to think about. So just actually, if there are no questions, I'm going to have a quick roundup of things we talked about. Were, what subjects to study if you're in school, what skills you need to develop, how to develop some of those skills and how to think about those skills. Also, I covered things about where to look for internships. Also, what else? The idea, my thoughts about finding universities to do marine biology. And also, I've answered some specific questions from the audience just now about, their backgrounds and how they can make that transition. Okay, so thank you so much. I feel like there's no other questions right now that are going to enhance this conversation rather than just drag it on. So I'm going to say thank you so much to all of you who joined. I hope this has been useful to you, no matter what age or background you come from, and I hope that you will continue to dream of becoming a marine biologist, of contributing regardless of your background. Remember, whoever you are, you have a role to play. It is your duty to look after the ocean. The ocean is a common resource. If we aren't thinking about it, if we aren't all being conscious about our oceans every single day with every step we take, it's going to be a problem for us. Okay, so excellent. Thank you for responding. It's really nice to get some positive input on how it went. I will think about other Q&A sessions like this that might be useful for people in the future. So do look out, and please just follow Oceanswell and tell your friends. We are lining up a bunch of very exciting things in the future that can help to enhance your knowledge about the marine environment, which again can help you to progress in this field. And we will bring you some amazing people into this space. I can tell you, be excited. Everyone from deep sea biologists to people who study things like bioluminescence, to underwater photographers, National Geographic people who explore the world and have immense experience and kind of immense knowledge about these spaces. We will bring them. Oceanswell will bring them right into this space for all of you. So please do stay in touch. Do come back. Follow our posts, like our posts, share our posts, tell people about what we do, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining. See you later.